Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. It's great to see all of your faces. I feel like we just saw some folk last Friday, and so we get to have a special edition of this Vibe Tribe with one more just squeezing into the end of April. We're almost into May. And so if you're new to this space and haven't been here before, I just want to give a little bit of background that this is a big portion of the alumni community from the Healthcare Coaching Institute and other programs from Pyramid Resource Group, which Marcia, I know, is a founding member of and still a trusted friend, partner in that space. And so it's just always fun to invite more people in and see it growing. Part of our mission and goal is to create an island of sanity or sanctuary for coaches. So we invite in people who we want to hear from and want to build community through these kind of conversations. So we're glad that you're here. We're excited for Marcia to be here. I have some of her accolades pulled up, but DJ, I know you guys go way back, and so I don't, don't want to miss something. Um, and I'm always excited to learn from Marcia. I've had a chance to meet you, Marcia, and just learn from you a handful of with really insightful takeaways. So, DJ, I'll hand it over to you for a more
Yeah,
formal introduction, and I will drop in the chat too, a link to our other Vibe Tribe sessions that are happening later this year as well. So definitely check those out.
thank you, Lauren. Yeah, so creating community is becoming more important for all of us, as you all know. And we're thrilled that Marcia will spend time with you today in this space. And just a little bit about our background together. We're both past presidents of the International Coach Federation, and she had to go first, or I wouldn't have done it. So she was the fifth president. So we're founding members of the International Coach Federation. Marcia came from a background of corporate as well, and she has a really interesting background. She has four advanced degrees, and so she sees things from sort of a scientific point of view, and she blends that with the heart, and that's one of the things everybody comes to love about her. She was a founding member with our team for the Healthcare Coaching Institute, and she was the original director of training. When she started this next Coach the Person, Not the Problem, as it became a big bestseller, we agreed that she would take a leap and go out to bring back the elixir of all that's new in the mastery space. And so she's leading the way in that, and she will be coming back in to work with us on some advanced classes. And so today you're in for a treat. You're going to see a demo, I think, from Marcia. She'll have time for that. And she makes people cry. So, put yourself out there and you could be in tears by the end of the session.
You
Just
need to
kidding.
clear your eyes up from the allergies.
No, but getting to the heart of what's really going on has been one of her gifts for many years. It's one of her original gifts that she brings into the coaching space. So, you're going to learn more about her if you don't know her already. Some of you are coming because Marcia's here and you're fans already. You know her from other countries and other spaces. So I'm just going to turn it over to you, Marcia, and let you take us into the spaces that you want to take us. I'm here for questions if anybody has them, and I'll just sort of direct any kind of breakout if we're needed, and Lauren will help us with that in managing the technology. So take it away, Marcia, my dear.
Okay. Um, the main thing when my publisher asked me to write the second edition of Coach the Person, my first thought was, oh, well, what else do I have to say? And but when I started looking at the coaching environment and leading into what we're facing now, that there was some essential things that I had to build on or I hadn't really addressed in the first edition. And I mean, coaching is even so much more critical these days with DJ and I were talking about the people that we're coaching, they're just all over the place. There's so much going on. And coaching is a lot of it is just putting it all into the filter and drilling it down to what is it really that you're facing that you want to resolve. That takes time to even clear their fog and to manage our own emotional state and presence, which is what will keep our profession alive in this world of AI. So I even addressed in the introduction that AI will probably replace basic level coaching at an ACC level because it's still pretty much problem solving, even though the confirmation bias that's wrapped up into AI doesn't necessarily help you to explore beyond what you already know. But people come up with some solutions that they can try. But the presence that we bring, our human connection, that eases people's stress, that opens them up to be willing to look beyond, that comes out of our energy, our the energetic bond that we create. And so it's even more important these days of going into mastery of PCC, MCC, of really embracing, embodying what mastery is, because not only will it keep our profession alive, it's what people are yearning for. The more that they're engaged here in the screen, the more their soul and their heart is dying for that human connection that we all need because it's human nature, because we're social animals. So the whole process of what is that? How do we use our emotions to co-regulate, to help people get into that place energetically? That, and the other topic is a big topic that I've been focusing on a lot, is bringing in identity coaching, because transformation doesn't really take place unless I also transform who I think I am. If I just transform my behavior, it's really transactional. It has to, for transformation to fully occur, I have to see who I can become, or I realize I already am, and I just need to allow myself to be. And then the behavioral change comes with that. So those are the two big elements that I really addressed in this. But I had evidence a few weeks ago um, of how important people are really grasping this need for coaching, because somebody sent me a picture of the in the Charlotte airport of the Hudson News of my book stacked up and prominent. And I said Hudson News wouldn't buy books to put in that space unless they felt people, the general public, would want that. And so to me, that's a testament for coaching that they actually chose to put my book in their bookstore. It's good for all of us that that happened. So I didn't get to see it, but if you go through the Charlotte airport, you might look for it. So I have some slides that I prepared that I wanted to share with around this concept, and then I'll answer your questions, and then think about it. If any of you would like to just test out a little bit of coaching with me, that would be great. So let me get the share. I'm having a hard time with buttons these days. Okay. Um, so, a lot of the ideas we have around change and the difference between uh, transitions, transformation, change, um, and again, and really being someone different. It initially came from what you've all studied with Bridges' work on transitions. And he talked a lot about, well, change is inevitable, but transformation, resilience, opening up to new possibilities, that is choice. But we don't make that choice on our own because the brain says, no, 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 we're not going to do that because that feels uncomfortable to change at that level. It's easier for me to change just my tasks and what I do. Tell me, how I can just approach this differently and I'll try. But then when I try, it doesn't really last. And so when we look at what's happening now, even with the fog of uncertainty, and it's not like the world has ever been certain that we know what's going to happen tomorrow. But we fooled ourselves into thinking we did, but that got all blown up, especially with the pandemic. Um, uh, but we still, with each step, each transition that we make, we still get stuck there. Okay, so now I've moved and I've grown, so I'm comfortable now. And so at what point do we quit choosing this? There are times when we're forced into changing. I think Bruce Feiler, he took Bridges' model to a different level, and he says he calls it life quakes. I love that term. That we're all facing life quakes, that are disruptive. And so do we choose to go with that and really ride the wave and be resilient in that, or do we get stuck and stalled in the middle? What he called the steps, and why I like Bruce's steps is that the first one is the long goodbye, because that's the most difficult, and especially when we're changing who I think I am, of really letting go of who I think I am today. That self-concept is one of the hardest things to let go of, or what I had expected to happen. How many people get to a point in their life and they're so angry because they expected life to turn out a certain way and it didn't. And then they go through, just struggles with that and frustration, and they can't, it's hard to figure that out on your own. So there's a lot of emotion that's involved with the saying goodbye, and of whatever it is that we're saying goodbye to, whatever shifts in our life have come up, whether they've done to us or we choose them. Why I like the messy middle, it was Bridges called it the neutral zone. This is not neutral. There's nothing neutral about it. I understand his perspective, but Filer calls it the messy middle. That okay, now that I know what it is I need to let go of it because it didn't happen, or it did happen and now I'm over here. In order to move forward, to really release it and let it go, I have to realize that I'm going to go through a period of uncertainty. And again, this is where Bridges said, we go on the off ramp and then we want to go back because it's really foggy, but you can't, because it's dangerous to go back. But we test possibilities, and do we have the courage to stay with it? And this is where coaching comes in at both of these levels, but that staying with them as they realize what's going to happen. We initially coach to identify what it is that I want to create, change or create that's not happening now, and who am I in that picture. Okay, I can create it theoretically, but then all the things I need to do to move on my path of transformation, and transformation is a process, not a change, that takes courage, that takes persistence. And coaching, having a coach to be there with you along that way, and not necessarily to hold you to accountability, but just to work through what feels uncomfortable, which doesn't feel right. And I don't know if this is the right thing for me, and I'm not good enough. That's the messy middle. And that's so much of our coaching, and then when we finally get to, what we have envisioned, to move into the space of what we've envisioned, then it really is updating our stories. They come to us and clients with a story, but all of this can even move within one session a bit, to where they update the story and can envision a true new situation and self in that. So if you're not familiar with his book's been out for a number of years, it's like I had to go find it in my library when I was reintroduced to it. It's like, oh yeah, that book. It's interesting of looking at that. So the difficulty is in letting go to start with. We can conceptually say I'm letting go, but we're really letting go is a more difficult thing, because there has to be a grieving. And so many people get, grieving mixed up with a loss of somebody, but we can grieve anything. My dear Harriet, our colleague who recently passed away, when I published my first published book was based on my doctoral dissertation on challenges of smart, strong women in the workplace. And the book is called Wander Woman. But it came out in 2010, smack dab in the middle of a recession where they'd cut fundings to women's programs. And I had a dream, and I said, I'll give it a year. And, if this book takes off and all the work I'm doing around women's leadership, I will focus my business on women. A year later, I found myself not sleeping well and just dragging and not wanting to do anything. And I didn't know what it was. And I called Harriet and she goes, "So what are you grieving?" And I went, "Oh." And I realized I had given myself a year and it was a year. And that dream I had had was not going to come true, you know? And when we walked through and I said, "Okay, I'm going to let myself grieve, for a few days." Well, all I needed was one. And within a couple of days, as the door started opening, um, I got into a conversation, and that's when I envisioned my next book, The Discomfort Zone, looking at how do we coach people when it's not comfortable for us or definitely not for them. So we can grieve so many things, and so think about in your own life when you had to grieve something, a loss of a dream is often a big one. Saying goodbye to a home you lived in for a number of years. We have little grieving, big grieving, but that letting go, saying goodbye, the long goodbye, is critical, and we have to really give space for that. Never, you know, another thing I've been saying lately is coaches need to slow down. Just coach slowly up front. Just really listen in and make sure you see what they see and don't assume you do, just because maybe you've been there yourself. Just see what they see. How are they defining this problem that they think they're facing? And then, it evolves to what it is they want that's not happening now, the agreement. Um, and part of that is that they will say, who I am today or what's going on and what it is that they're holding on to. That will be the difficult thing to let go of. And that's a critical thing to hear that. But to understand that one of the most difficult times in our life is this transformation, and especially of ourselves. And again, in this book that I found earlier this year, Shift in Being, that he hit me, boom. Coaching is not transformational unless there is a shift of self. Because otherwise it's just transactional. It's just, okay, I'll try this, I'll do that. And I thought, that's really interesting. At first I'm like, no, I don't think so. you know, that there are other elements, but I think there's a truth to that. And honestly, if you have a question or even want to challenge anything, please raise your hand. So I'm hoping I'm sharing with you some, because I had to do so much, the research to the new edition, coming along across this new research in these books that I'm sharing with you. Um, and it was, I don't even know how to pronounce her name. I met her at the ICF conference, Maha, how would you say that? Yikik? Does anyone know?
I think the D is silent. It's like
Yeah,
chicket,
Jikik,
chicket.
Chikit, Chikit. Okay. Anyway, she says, who we believe we are is often the enemy of who we want to become. When you start to hear, within the story they tell, somewhere they're going to say, yeah, but I'm just the new person, or yeah, but or like my Chinese executive who says, I'm just a Chinese girl in this room. Why would they want to listen to me? It's like you can hear them the definition, or well, little me, and then why would they want to talk to me? Or it's not my place to make to have that conversation. You hear the seeds of who they think they are today. That must shift, and that's why I agree with that quote. That must shift if their behavior's going to shift. And that's when the brain kicks in and says, no, I'm comfortable. Even though I know that who I think I am today doesn't serve me well and I'm getting into conflict or I'm just making a mess of things, I don't want to let it go because it feels awkward in that messy middle before I can embrace my future self. And, and as Rebecca says in her book, A Field Guide to Getting Lost, and I've had people say, I heard someone coaching the other day, I was listening to a recording, and she said, oh, you don't have to let anything die. And I'm thinking, no, don't say that to your clients. Your client might need to let that die, you know? I mean, maybe it's like, okay, I'm just evolving, and so part of me stays there, but maybe not. You never know, as you walk through this, that definition of self is often the barrier to their growth. And I've just been starting I just deliver, actually, the ICF conference in Washington, I'm going to do a session on coaching the who, so I've put together some material. I'll have to come back here and share that with you all. Um, Breakthroughs in coaching are major shifts and rips, and they're often disruptions and make people cry when they realize what they've been doing to themselves and others when they haven't let go. And all emotions are fine. It means they just saw something new or they're having trouble accepting what they now see. We must, a coaching mindset says to regulate, we must choose our emotions at the beginning and be able to maintain them. And as I said, coach slow, coach slow, coach slow. Don't be so quick to get the agreement and move forward. It's in the shifts in perception when they see what they're thinking that the breakthroughs can occur. So we listen for their current view of reality and identity up front. It'll be there. Listen for those cues in their story. You don't have to repeat their whole story. It's the key elements you'll give back to them. Like this morning, this woman, I mean, I don't know, she talked for a good 4 minutes, and I said, okay, here's what I hear that you're having a problem connecting with your staff. You know this, but you said you also know you need more emotional intelligence, and that's how you define how you think this is going to be solved. Um, and but you don't seem to be gaining any traction in this. Is that's what's going on? And I said it in one sentence. She goes, "Oh, yeah, that's it." And that's what we do for them. We pull out their current view of the reality and themselves. And I did get into, so tell me who you are as a leader. This is a woman who runs uh, a school. And she says, well, for years, I was always the one they came for the answers and, and blah, blah, blah. And she's still holding on to that. And that's what's stopping her from really moving forward because she still sees herself in that way that I'm the one that gives my teachers the answers. Um, so we want to really hear what's on their mind. Just start by saying, so what's the challenge you're bringing today? Please don't start, and I say this for those of you who are new to coaching, the rest of you know this. Please don't start with the question, what do you want out of our time together? Because they do not know. They're just going to tell you the problem. So why bother asking them? You're throwing away a good question. Ask them just, so what's the challenge you're facing today, or what's on your mind that you want to examine with me? Um, just open the door. And then in this telling of the story, you start to hear the key things that they're saying is the challenge and a bit of what they want instead. Um, and we have to share that back. So they have to hear us because they need to feel heard and that this is good and important and we're making that connection up front. So we recap and summarize and share emotional shifts. Um, and I'll share these slides with you if you want. But as we do that, then what's evolving is what it is that they want to change or create that's not happening now. The outcome is the observable outcome. The agreement is what is it that they really want that's not happening? And let me see if I can really clearly see that and make sure that they see the same thing as I see, or I see the same thing as they see. So even if they get stuck with, but I need to make a plan. Well, what will a plan give you? Um, I was listening to another recording and the guy said, I'm having trouble asking for what I need, but if I had a plan, I think I would be more clear on what it is I need to ask for. Okay, so what's stopping you from making the plan? There's lots of resources out there, and of course it came down to I'm scared to make the ask. I'm brand new here and I don't know if it's okay for me to ask. That was it. The plan wasn't really gonna the plan was, giving him maybe a little bit more courage. to ask for what he needed that he didn't think he had the right to ask. What will be different if you got what you want? What are you really willing to explore with me to achieve and the goals that you have set? Once you get that, then you can say, so how are you showing up in this picture? This picture of, you working with your team in a different way. Who are you being? How are you showing up? Really get some clarity of the envisioned self, because that way the focus of the coaching isn't problem solving a past problem. It's moving toward an envisioned future and self. And that keeps it more positive than cycling around and around and around and you chase them around the problem. And then appreciate all their emotions that come up. You're not there to help them feel better. And I say this because a lot of you have heard me say this over and over and over. We're there to coach them to see better. AI can make them feel better. That's what AI does. It just confirms, oh, that's a great idea. Why don't you go do that? You know, why don't you go hang yourself? I'll give you different ways you can. It's scary, the confirmation bias that's embedded in AI. We're not trying to heal them or fix them in this moment. We're helping them to see the possibilities, to wipe away. And crying really does just wash away what it was that I was holding on to so I can see new, freshly new, what's possible. So it really is important. And that's, I'm not going to do the chat thing, because we'll come back to this, but you must be there with them. And it's difficult to move away from I'm performing the competencies because that's what we have to do to get certification and to get through training, but to move from performance to connection. That's the transformation that we all have to make. But you got to know performance first, so you learn your competencies, you perform your competencies, and then you forget about them, because it's people want to be seen, heard, and valued. That's what the soul yearns for. When we receive whatever they say, whatever resistance, defensiveness that they give us, that's okay. It's just what they're experiencing right now, that they feel accepted. And then they allow us then to make the connection. And when we do this, then we are giving them what it is that they need. They want to be witnessed. They want to be witnessed and partnered with. We are thinking partners. We're not problem solvers. I am not your problem solver. I'm just going to help you think because you're a smart person. And for whatever reason, you're looking this way and haven't opened up or even shifted to see what's over here. And they must feel how much you care about them and appreciate where they are right now, or they won't open up to you, or it'll be more difficult to do that. So we use our full body presence. I know you're taught that, to have a curious, open mind, appreciative, caring heart, that I truly, truly care about you. I love you. And a purposeful gut. And I'm not going to back off. When I see a contradiction, I'm going to share that with you. When I'm going to say, that's really an interesting answer, but you didn't answer my question. So I'm going to ask the question again, which I had to do this morning 3 times. And they may get irritated, but we get there. We get there. And what's so great is then we can, when they feel, I am here for you, I care about you, it triggers the neurochemicals and the hormones to where, they want, oh, okay, I like you, you're okay, I will bond with you. The serotonin, the dopamine of, okay, the psychological safety, I feel safe being with you, um, wherever it is you might take me. And it opens up the creative channels. Um, okay, I will go with you on this journey to see what's possible for me. We must energetically create this. This is co-regulation. My emotions, because I'm the socially dominant person in the conversation, my emotions will impact my client's emotions, and I need them to feel I'm here, I care about you, I'm not judging you. I know that we can find this way forward together. And that's an energetic bond, and and we commingle, and what happens between us. Um, a good friend of mine, Alan Briskin, wrote a book this year called Space is Not Empty. The space between us is not empty, it's full of energy. And we have to be responsible for creating and maintaining that energy throughout the conversation. And this is what differentiates us from AI. They feel understood, valued. They will co-regulate with your emotional state. But if you back off and you get afraid and you're worried you're not doing it right, then they sense that too, and then it'll impact them and they may back off. So we stay in this state. So this dissipates their stress and resistance. So you never disappear. DJ, remember at the beginning of coaching and our coach training, Thomas called it charge neutral, right? It's not neutral. But we didn't know what we were doing back then. That we brought this forward was enough. But it's a strong, energetic bond, but it's based on your love, on your openness, on your accepting whatever they give. They have to feel that. So you got to let go wherever you are in your coaching journey. I don't care if you're just starting. When you're with them, as Thomas used to say, just love them. Don't worry about your performance. Just don't send in that recording to anybody. you know, you get better with practice, but give them the space. Honestly, um, DJ, all those people we were coaching back in the 1900s, you know, when we were just figuring it out, we were just writing the competencies. But how many of the testimonials were brilliant? It's like, thank you. I needed someone to talk to. I needed a safe space. So even new coaches, you are giving your clients a gift. You're giving them such a gift by just giving them the safe space and caring about them. Um, and then you just get better. And then always, when you feel you've been bumped out of presence, just come back to, I am here for you. Client, I am here for you. That's where we go. So stay present, appreciate what they offer. Um, any tension you have, breathe and release it, and use your curiosity. Always be curious, always be curious. Compassionate curiosity. Because mastery is the deepening in presence. As many of you know, I've been saying this for years, not the perfection of skills. But when you're focused on performance, then you're always wrapped up in perfection. So let it go and just be with them, and you'll just get better with practice. That's why MCC requires 2,500 hours, because you can't, mastery is a transformation. Um, it's a transformation, and it's going to take time. It takes time to learn the skills, to quit telling people what to do. And so we need our competencies not to do that, but then we have to let them go. And then we have to let them go. And that's the path of mastery. So I will do a demo. I want you to watch how I use my presence and my reflection. I use more and more reflection than I even ask questions, because I'm a thinking part there. I want them to hear their thinking. And, what surprised you or challenged you. But I want to just stop first before I do the demo and just ask what questions you have, because I threw it all out at you. So questions, observations. Oh, hi, Cormac. Good to see you.
Hey, Marcia, thank you so much. I really enjoyed the book. I was felt left out because I didn't realize it was another edition. So it's on my, it's a
Oh,
second edition or it's a different book? It's a
it's a
different book.
second edition. It came out in March, but 30% is brand new, and I edited every single page because I'd read the page and go, I wouldn't say it that way anymore. I wouldn't say it that way anymore, and I couldn't live with it. So it still took quite a bit of
It's,
time.
I just want to make one comment about the attention part. And I love
Mhm,
all the stuff that you're saying
mhm,
because as a neurologist in the neurosciences, but in the physician burnout where it affects
mhm,
relationships,
mhm,
and my simple cure would be in our busy lives, if you can give your partner 15 minutes of attention in the midst of all your things, you got to eat dinner, do your work, just sit down and
mhm,
say, I'm here for 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be, go out on a
mhm,
date and have the biggest night in the town, but I just
I
thought,
agree.
they said when we surveyed all these
Mm-hmm.
physicians who were in distress
Mm-hmm.
for a number of reasons, when they said just give them the fact they could have 5 minutes where it's just you and me.
Yeah,
Not a long time, but just purely that presence thing, it resonates as well as a lot of the other.
right.
Um,
Well, and burnout so much is where we lose sight of purpose and self, because we get so lost in the doing and there's just too much. And without having someone, even like you say, for 5 minutes to really see me, hear me, and help me remember, who I am,
yeah,
why I'm here, how critical that is, before they go off.
and the other thing, as you said, like changing health systems. Since I
Mhm.
between us, I don't really like the new system. So I don't like it, but I don't know what I want at the same time. As you said, what do you want? What from what you have now, what do you want? I know what I
So
don't
that's
want.
you need some work on that. Okay.
Thank you. I know,
Well,
I know,
but
I
that's the
know.
thing. It's easy to
Yeah,
say what I don't want.
I
Right.
know.
You know,
That was the hard
often,
work.
yeah, when people say I need to leave my job, it's like, well, what kind of job would you like instead? I don't know. I just can't stand
Exactly.
my
Yeah,
boss
yeah,
anymore. And
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, no, no, no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
no.
yeah, yeah.
Don't just leave, leave it behind. We got to
Yeah,
envision what you want.
absolutely.
That's
So we've got
great.
several people who
Mhm.
have their hands up. Bill, yours is first, and then Sharana.
Mhm.
Marcia, thank you for your new book. I dove into it. I'll probably finish it tonight. Just a confession and then a question. The confession is that I was started reading part two and I jumped to part three because I really wanted to get into the how do you do these competencies better.
Nah, see,
So
you skipped
I'm
the
gonna go back.
present.
I'm gonna go back to part two. When I was
Yeah,
reading last night,
that's
you
great.
you talk in your book about the safety bubble. And
Hmm.
it's the connection that we have with our clients.
Hmm.
And a note to self was I really have to be super diligent doing that when we do it by video. And do you think it's
Hmm.
that much harder to do in a Zoom
Hmm.
meeting than it is in person?
You know, the distractions are different, so you're right, Bill, that when we're with someone, to be able to um, just not see the world outside of just us, and those of us that do demos, we know that, there's lots of people watching, but it doesn't matter. They're not there. What happens online, I remember reading some research, how many times we look at ourselves while we're coaching. I'm looking at you, I'm looking at you, but let me just check out, I have a hair out of place, or, you know. And so the even the distraction of self, that be able just to stay focused and um, be there with them you're right, it's a little bit more difficult, but it's not impossible. Not impossible. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Sharona?
Sharana.
Hmm.
Thanks, Bill. And Cormac. I didn't thank you, Cormac, but I'm so happy you're here.
Hmm.
Sharana, how about you?
Yeah. So, Marcia, thank you. I feel like I already know you. So, in your first edition, and I am going to the store after this to get your second one, but you mentioned kind of presence and then silence, especially during the times when the client's really emotional, like
Hmm.
when they are just kind of decompensating in front of you.
Hmm.
And then you also mentioned to maybe give them the option of rescheduling if they seem like they could not emotionally regulate. So when you wrote your second edition, is that still your view of dealing with
Hmm.
that
Um,
type of
I
situation?
Good question.
Yeah, so I probably would stretch that out, because what I have found with um, when they're going, there's the arc of emotions is the trigger, the intensity, which is that's where we're giving them space, because their intensity means I'm processing. But if you just stay energetic connected with them, you'll start to feel the dissipation of the emotional energy. As it starts to diminish, that's when you would go in and say, would you be willing to share with me what you're going through, or what just came up for you? So you wait for it. You'll feel it if you stay with them and not worry about what's going on right now and when should I say something. Don't worry about it. You'll feel it. And I would say 95% of the time, they may say, I'm just not sure, give me a minute, or they may say something and it's not clear, and then you might have to help them articulate it. But rarely and it has happened, but rarely do they say, okay, just what came up for me, I cannot deal with right in this moment. I really need to go away and think about it. They've made that choice, so is what you're saying is, do you want to just take a break now, or do you want to reschedule? Um, and that happened to me once when my boss said something about, will anyone ever be good enough for you? And it just at a time when it struck me with, oh my God, I do that. Oh my God, I do that to myself and to everyone else on the planet, and I basically at that point said, I need to go think about that. I could not even talk about it. It hit me so to the core. Uh, and that could happen too. So whatever it is that need, but let them choose it. I wouldn't say, would you like to reschedule just because they're crying or something. I wouldn't do that. I ask, would you be willing to share and see how they respond um, to that? But stay with them, and it's probably holding the silence a little longer than you normally would. And that's okay too. Let them process what's going on. And if it goes on forever and ever and ever, and they're just sitting there, then you might just say, um, you then you could still ask, would you be willing to share, um, or what is it that you need right now? Just don't get up and hand them a Kleenex.
Yeah, you said that in the book. No
Don't
comments.
make them wrong or weak, like don't say, oh, it's okay. No, don't do anything. Just hold the silence. Just hold the silence.
And I will tell you, somebody did that to me in a demonstration once. They handed me a Kleenex
Uh,
and it totally dismantled the coaching for
yeah,
me because I was like, now I'm ashamed that I brought this forward
exactly.
in front of all these people as a demonstration.
Exactly.
And it was like,
Mhm,
oh, I'm sorry, right? Which
mhm,
I will say is a gender thing too. We often apologize, right?
mhm,
For bringing something up that upset not only me, but everybody
mhm.
else. So you
Yeah,
you go to places that are not healthy.
yeah,
When
So DJ,
somebody hands
you
you,
don't acknowledge the sorrow, like, because they do
yeah,
say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, and I'm sorry, I'm crying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry."
yeah.
You just wait.
Well, you
well,
can't. When
yeah,
they say that, I'm sorry, then it's okay to say it's okay and just leave it and just leave it. Um, you know, uh, it's just our automatic reaction because we've been told it's wrong to do that.
yeah.
So, and I want you to know that I've taught in 47 countries now. Everybody, there's similar things. Don't cry. They're all being taught, don't cry. It's bad to cry. Those things that we're taught about emotion, expressing emotions, it's universal. And the whole thing, every language that I've worked with, they all have sayings of I should have trusted my heart, I should have listened to my gut. So we all know stuff's going on, but we don't listen to that. We just blah 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 blah. And we need to help them sort through that to really get into what it is they really want and what's holding them back. So much of coaching at the beginning is just sorting through the mess, um, which we all need right now.
Right. And
So,
Marcia, I'm going to just say for those who are in medicine, many of you are here with us, most of our students, right, and graduates. Um, this translates as well. Whenever you were looking at diagnosis, Marcia and I've had these conversations behind the scenes when we have to go see a doctor for something. And it's
mhm,
what you say to us in that room, what the practice is trained to do, sometimes is not helpful for somebody who's trying to figure something out or change or
mhm,
shift a behavior. When,
mhm,
we leave with the last thing you say to us,
mhm,
and so bringing coaching skills into the practice is what a lot of you are doing. And we
mhm,
can't wait to see your white papers on that, your
mhm,
research, your value add to the coaching community because it's there, right?
mhm,
We know in some of our first graduates, one of them is taking 45 minutes with her patients now. Um, she was
mhm,
a urogynecologist who was working in in a urology practice, and she was the
mhm,
only female and seeing patients for those things. And she was forced to see so many patients a day. And she left and started her own business. And now she spends 45 minutes with each patient
mhm,
and helps them really figure out through coaching what it is they're going to be taking into the world that's new, and to help them figure out their therapies, what they will own and be compliant with, that they will take ownership of. So I will say for us and for all of you in medicine, it's going to change your lives, and it's going to change the lives of those you serve. So coming back to you, Marcia.
Well, if you want me to do a demo, then we need
Yeah.
to do it now.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea.
And understanding that whoever you raise your hand, I tend to be quick with my demos, but you
Yeah.
know we're a little short on time, so
Yeah.
I may ask your permission to interrupt you. So,
So we'll let her set that up and give you more context, but let's just see how many of you are willing to put yourself out, because I kind of know some of your stories, and I might be judicious about who I put in front of you, Marcia. But let's see. First, let's see if there's a volunteer. Do we have someone who's willing?
Mary's got her hand up.
Mary, wonderful. Okay. Mary is a physician leader. She has her own practice. And Mary, I'll let you tell her a little bit about who you are and what you're
You know
bringing to
what?
the game. But I'm going to give it to Marcia to
Yeah.
take, and I'm
I
going
don't
to
need.
pin the two of you in the middle.
Yeah. Um, all I need to know is your challenge. I don't need to know who you are, Mary.
Okay.
We'll see if
Yeah,
you
no,
can.
I'm
But before you start, can I
Okay.
just ask everybody to go off
Yeah.
camera except for Mary and Marcia, and Janet and I will listen for the competencies and anything else that you have questions about on that, if there is anything. So, okay.
I'm a real good example of, you know, when I know beforehand who somebody is, I forget. So
oh yeah, no, I love your coach the person, not the problem. So I know that the person is always underneath the problems. That goes with introductions or who I what's going on. I
Right.
think so one thing I want to say that my last name is pronounced Metter, which
Okay,
most people don't pronounce it right, but I just said that partly to DJ. But anyway, I love, thank you so much for bringing what you brought today. And I feel like I'm standing, if I look at Bruce Feiler's little diagram of, I'm standing on that little precipice from the messy middle into the new beginning. And so I recognize a lot of what I has held me back has been these stories that I'm telling myself. I'm very interested in moving forward with coaching and sort of building. I don't need a big business. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm really doing it because I love this work. And and so I think in a nutshell, the story that has that I've carried with me since I was a little girl was don't be too big, don't show off, don't be bigger than the person next to you kind of thing. And I'm just ready to say F that and move forward. And I'm really excited about that, but it's scary for me.
Okay. So you started by saying you're on the precipice, so you haven't jumped yet. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, maybe tomorrow I'll jump.
Okay.
But
that's
I'm really close.
okay, good.
I was talking with DJ about that last night about being really close. Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
close. All right. So, but you said, you know, that you wanted to do the coaching because it's what you love. And it's not about making money or being, you know, something huge, but doing something that you feel good about doing. But then you went into this, don't be bigger than other people. And so how does that relate to what you want?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's if I can't, it relates to what I want in that I have to hold myself back because I think um, and last night we had an HCI class last night, so that's where I was talking to DJ and she had put a quote up there by George O'Keeffe, which was really about it's not about success or failure, it's about making the unknown known. And inside of me, I just feel like there's this part of me that really wants to express itself and wants to write or teach or coach or whatever. And so if I can't be bigger than anybody else, then I have to worry about that. I have to I have to hold myself back. And I'm tired of, and yeah, I'm tired of holding myself back. And I don't know how much of that is
Okay.
the patriarchy, how much of it is my,
Okay.
upbringing, blah, blah, blah.
So you're on the precipice, but something saying, don't jump because then you have to be bigger than who you are right now.
Right. And bigger than who I am right now. Yes, bigger than who I am right now, and possibly bigger than whoever's sitting next to me too.
Okay. Well, which is the bigger thing, honestly? Is it bigger than other people or bigger than I've allowed myself to be?
That's a really good question. I've always thought of it as bigger than other people, but it's really kind of a both and.
Okay.
Because I mean, yeah, I can see it as a both and. I can see it as, I don't want to hurt someone else's feelings
Hmm.
or be competitive um,
Hmm.
or yeah, make someone feel bad. Um,
Hmm.
but at the same time, what it does is it keeps me safe by
Hmm.
by being humble
You have to jump
and
over the cliff.
small.
Um, I'm still not quite getting I really want to do this business because it really fulfills me. I really like coaching. Um, but then you went into, but also writing and blah and doing all these other things but I can't really do that and so again, I want to look at that I I'm holding myself back because I'm supposed to because it's going to affect what people feel from doing something that's fulfilling to me. So how is that all that stuff that's still in your head from your parents and from, of who you're supposed to be? How is that keeping you from creating something that's fulfilling?
So here I need to just give you a little glimpse of some of who I am, what I've done or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a family physician that practiced primary care for 13 years, and then um, sort of what your urogynecologist did. I spent 22 years having a practice where I spent an
Mm-hmm.
hour with each patient
Mm-hmm.
and did a lot of mental and behavioral health and work. And in that setting, I also began to study something I think you're probably familiar with, which is so interpersonal neurobiology, social neuroscience, evolutionary biology, and incorporating that into my practice. And as I did that, I saw this light bulb went off in terms of I need to bring this into healthcare. I need to bring the concepts of
Mm-hmm.
humanity and co-regulation and all of these neurobiological concepts, sort of applied neurobiology. I need to bring that to healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
But I was taught in healthcare not don't confront the system, don't, and people aren't interested often in
Mm-hmm.
some of that self-reflection and self-examination. So I think that's where I don't know, again, I don't know if it's the patriarchy or
Okay.
authority or whatever.
So you had a dream of what you could do, but you didn't do it because of the system.
I've started doing it
Uh-huh.
times, but I haven't really stepped
Jumped
into.
over the
I've
cliff.
stepped
Okay.
over. Yeah.
So, Mary, let's just say, forget it. I'm going to jump over the cliff. What do you find at the bottom of the cliff?
Well, I imagine it's actually maybe just a 6-inch curb and not a cliff. I'm at that
It's just a
point.
boop.
Just a boop, and I really just am able to release myself and actualize some of these things that I've
Okay.
thought about.
But I'm going to ask you the question again. Let's say you've made the boop.
Okay.
Okay, and you just said to actualize it. What does actualizing look like? What do you think this is going to look like if you just decided to do it today or
If I
started?
decided to do it today, what it would look like is I would be writing every day, which I've just started in this past week, writing every day uh and coaching and building my skills at coaching,
Mm-hmm.
and then sort of see where that goes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
You start by writing and coaching. Um, and that, when you see yourself doing that, getting up and writing and coaching, who is that, Mary?
She is herself. I mean, it really is, and it's interesting. And I am in Hawaii right now, and where I is my happy place, and I can be myself here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm by myself, and I'm sort of on a on a retreat. So I'm in this really good place right now, um,
Mm-hmm.
where what we're talking about feels kind of obvious, and it's about taking it back into the back into the real world.
All right,
Um,
so that's the fear. But I want to acknowledge you that you just said, I'm free to be myself, to do what I want, not what everyone, who cares? What
yeah,
people told me what I should or should not do,
right.
and what I'm afraid others might say about what I should or should not do. That is just you being you, to
Mhm,
do what you feel is your gifts, to give your gifts to the world.
mhm, mhm,
Okay. So if that's what you want, going back to all those things, this story you've been telling for a long, long time about who am I to do this?
mhm,
I'm not supposed to stand out and do
mhm,
that. But when you just said that, I'm just being me, doing what I love and what making a difference I want. How is those beliefs that are holding you back, how does that relate to you just stepping over the curb and being in that space?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's if I'm able to just be present and
Mhm.
be here now without,
Mhm.
you know, reflecting on the past or imagining the
Mhm.
future, then it's really easy. But it's
Mhm.
isn't it so often that we make things more complicated than they need
Don't
to
we?
be. But if I can, yeah, if I can just remember to be myself, and I think, I'm a 9 on the Enneagram, so I'm
Mhm.
really good at merging and attuning and
Yeah.
reading the room and all of that kind of stuff and losing myself. So I
And
think
not
it
staying in the middle, in the
and
present.
not staying in the
Yeah.
present.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
that's also, again, giving yourself away to what other people are saying, the
Right,
shoulds. And
right.
so if you didn't have the shoulds,
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
finally just let go of that to do what you want, it's not like, you're running away from life, you're running into life.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I don't have that much before the finish line, so I need,
No, that
I mean,
one.
no, nobody knows how long we have, but I
Right.
hope, I
So what do
think,
you want to leave behind? If that's the case, if that's the perspective, what is it now you want to make sure that you leave this planet?
well, being myself and
Okay.
having, having the unknown known
Mm,
and being able to express myself and find
mhm.
my own voice
All
rather
right.
than thinking I need to
These
memorize
other
someone
things.
else's voice. Yeah,
What
yeah,
I heard you say, Mary, is that you know what it is you want. Um, and but getting out in the real world, the brain kicks in and says, nah, 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 nah. You're not supposed to do this. Who do you think you are? And
yeah.
you need to stay safe up here. Don't jump the curb. So it sounds as if being able to manage that is that the process of transformation is what the critical piece is for you. You know, you doing the leap is just doing the leap. But what happens when you do? What happens when you do, you know, when you might hold yourself back? So tell me about that. That if you decided to leap, you said, I step into the real world. What is it that's important for you right now, Mary, to work with so you can stay on this path of creating something that's important for you in this last few chapters of your life?
Well, I think what's important is having a practice or practicing, if you will, which is really staying grounded. As you were just talking, then I realized that, for probably 20, 25 years, I've been saying, I want to go on a retreat and take myself and not have any, and
Mhm.
this is the first time that I've really completely done that. I've always
Mm,
had other things
great.
attached, and it's been
Hmm.
way diluted. So it's like I realize I need to practice being myself, and if that means going away for 2 weeks and doing that, or so I think. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but because now I can't even remember your question. But it's about, oh yeah, I do remember. It's about practicing staying grounded and having that.
Mhm.
um,
Okay.
yeah.
Telling your brain what to do.
Yeah, not believing everything I think.
That not believing everything you think. That's great. Say that again. I just want to make sure it's embedded.
I'm not going to believe everything I think. Neither
That's great.
should you. Or any of
Any
us.
of us. Right. Wow. And isn't that what coaching is? To help people get
Yes.
beyond that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
No, that's good. Thank you. This is
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so from this point, because it seems like, was that the big learning you got from our time together? What is it that you gained? Not just, and I'm not going to believe in what I think, but what else? What has come up for you now that you can take forward?
I think it really helps because I've been kind of having these conversations with myself the last few days, but it really helps just to have someone else validate. And what has really been what I've what I'm taking from this is kind of the simplicity with
Mm,
which, I'm the one who creates all of these barriers, but it's kind of like the the great wisdom thinkers of
mm.
of the world, whether it's, Jesus or Buddha or whoever, what they have to say is really quite simple.
It is,
Getting
isn't it?
there is
Right.
complicated, but
Yeah.
it's the simplicity
Yes.
that you've sort of declared this, and I see is like, oh, it actually um is simpler, and it feels more clear and more simple right now because I think I am moving from the messy middle over to a new beginning.
And it's
So,
just a curb. It's just a
and
boop.
it's going to be just a curb and not a 20-foot cliff or 100-foot cliff.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so
Yeah.
what are you going to do from this point?
Well, after we finish with this great time with you, I'm going to spend some time today. We're making a mind map in HCI, so I'm going to spend some time finishing that up and really just kind of setting out a plan to continue a practice that helps me stay grounded and connected to myself.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay, anything else? Anything else you need?
No, I think the rest will kind of
Unfold.
reveal itself.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
great.
think I
Okay.
think I think the one other thing is that as I think about
Mm,
like all these things I want to do, I go to a place of, I have this huge list of, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to teach this, I'm going to do that, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to travel here and there and do whatever retreats and workshops. And the simplicity is like, no, I'm just going to become a good coach, and I'm going to write, I'm going to do some writing. And then let it
Just start.
and continue
Just
taking
start.
care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be yourself and just start.
So that was
Yeah,
very,
because Mary, you have so much gifts to give us, and we want you to boop. So
thank you very
great.
much.
Enjoy your time in Hawaii.
I'm doing that too. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you for raising your hand too. All right, everyone, if you want to come back and give Mary, if you would, just a little bit of time to process the experience. So if you have a question for her, just give her some moments first. You can ask me or just something you learned or insight or a question, and then we can come back to Mary. Okay?
I want to underscore, Marcia, just what these folks are taking away from here. And the simplification, I think, is really important that Mary is named for you all. But I'd like to hear maybe from one or two of you who are currently in the space of studying with us. What did you take out of here as a process piece that just turned a light on for you? Because it was there several times. What'd you notice? I'll help naming it. One of the first things she did was just name it. And once she named it, it's like, okay, here we go, right? The other thing I want you to notice is when you reach a level of mastery with this, you don't need a lot of story, a lot of introduction, which Marcia is very clear about, but you can be impatient with grace.
Right.
And when
Coach
you
slowly.
yes, go slowly, but you can interrupt the thinking. Disrupting a same pattern story was a significant part of what happened here over and over and over in the story. And it got Mary to a different place than she's been in a while. So that was really evident, Marcia, and well done. And for all of you watching this, I just want to make sure you see that. Because we sometimes when we are coaching, we kind of lose our patience with the story, but we think we have to be nice. Stop that. And one of the things that Marcia was actually doing, and I actually saw the Bob Newhart, stop it, just stop it, thing come up online in my cartoon brain, but it was like, it's to have her look at what she's doing that needs to be disrupted without making her wrong. She brought her back into just compassionate place of holding Mary as she was figuring this out. And she asked her to name the fear when she saw it. And the colorful language that was there, bringing it back to the end, it's not really a precipice. It's not like you're diving over a crevice. You're actually going into, it's just a curve. But it was like when Mary saw that, there was a brief aha, right? And it was a critical space for Marcia to come back in and just sort of catch and release. So you're seeing the competencies that Marcia spells out in both versions of this book, beautifully displayed and for you to experience. Janet, anything else that you saw that might be good to underscore here? I mean, I have copious notes, but those were some of the highlights.
I would echo those. There are also everyone witnessed the lightness, right? That Marcia held the tension and the humor, right? The vision and how she stayed in the messy and the shift when she had the question of what would it look like at the bottom of the cliff. Right, so
that's what she said. It's a curb.
Yeah. And then it was
I
like,
don't talk about that.
Right, and the boop, and thinking about the neuroscience, right, or the endorphins that then were released in that space and what she connected with, and then moved her forward. I also want to acknowledge how she kept pulling her words forward. Always, she kept integrating them, right, the different language, using Mary's language, and your delightful way of celebrating her, right? You all know in the facilitating client growth, it's how do we honor our clients? And Marcia, you said, be yourself and just start. Mary, you have so much to give.
Well, because she said, and I just want to say how many times that happens when I say, who are you in that picture? That it's like, I'm just being me,
Mhm.
it's not like oh, I'm going to become this, great, compassionate, wise person.
Mhm.
It's I'm just being me. That happens so often
Yep.
because we're not allowing ourselves to be me. And it's often a realization in that moment, whoa, what am I holding back that I'm not allowing myself to be? And so that moving her into the future, when they get stuck, and she was like, stuck on that it was like, okay, I'm going to move her into the future and just see what it's like and what it looks like, because I couldn't get the agreement on what exactly it was at the floor where she wanted to jump to. And so I will do that. So what does it look like if you were there? And that often, because they were still so stuck back here, and those voices and all of that, that was a huge thing for Mary. And Mary, you could talk to that. But as she started to really define that, to see that it's not that I have to accomplish all these great things all at once. I just have to write and coach, And that's when I said, and so who are you? How are you showing up? Who are you in that picture? And she's like, just me. Okay, so you got that. So let's go back up on the precipice, you know? And she didn't want to stay on the precipice anymore from that point. It was like, oh, it's just that. It's like, and the word, when I reflected the word should to her, that was big. She had a reaction to that, that you've got all these shoulds, of what other people think of you, of what your parents said, and they're keeping you from living your dream. Um, so I was balancing kind of future desire from stuck place in this. And I was, if you were to go back through this, I'm sure I hit all the competencies,
You
but
do.
in my 30 years, that I can now do this more as a conversational tone. I
Yeah.
mean, that's
Yeah.
what you move towards. So I'm not thinking about the competencies. I trust I know them well enough, and that's you'll get there too. Um, Wherever you are, you know enough. You know enough to make a difference for your client. Yeah.
And now that you're learning the competencies of you and mastering, you really are getting to the place of mastering them.
Mm,
It's just the practice that's going to be the thing
yeah.
that still wobbles here
Mhm.
and there, and you'll start judging yourself and you'll shut on yourself, and don't do that.
And then you're
Just,
not present anymore. You've
and no, you're
broken the
not present.
connection. You've
So it's
broken the
like
connection. Yeah.
you just go, isn't that fantastic? I just caught myself doing that. But the simplicity piece I love, and Marcia, I counted 7 times in my notes that Mary actually, I would just be who I am. And you kept saying that. And you went back into that and what it really
Mhm.
meant to her. So that's going to happen for all of you. People are going to go
Mhm.
back and be repetitive in their storytelling because they're really sorting through something. And this is big for Mary. She's on a personal
Mhm.
retreat. She came here early in the morning, Hawaii time, committed to having an experience, and you gave yourself that. So I'm going to just acknowledge the light bulbs that I saw dancing around your head and
Mhm.
how you settled into this. And I'm seeing a new story emerge for you. I heard some things in your telling this today that I have not heard in class. And the what you imagined you could bring to the table was more refined. And so going into that imagination is going to be fun to see you tease out as we go further. And I've got some of you who are working with her now in class that are shaking their heads and they go, yeah, there's new
Mhm.
stuff in that about what you wanted to do at one point, but left on the table for some reason. And the being bigger story, right? The being bigger and comparing and not being big
Mhm.
enough and
Bad.
this stuckness. Yeah. So, but the I am thing is again 7 times. So
Yeah.
that's a real invitation to look at who you am becoming.
And I want to put together too what Mary said about it really being simple and what Janet shared about her words. I don't have to interpret anything. In fact,
Right,
I shouldn't.
right.
She's giving me what I'm letting her hear. This is how you're thinking. This is the beliefs that are coming up. This is what's going on. That's all I'm doing. So I must use her words as much as I can. If I have to use a word to encapsulate a whole bunch, I make it as an invitation. So it sounds as if this is what you're doing. So you make it as an invitation if you're going to use your own words. Don't just give them a word because it may not be a fit for them. So it really is, once you just relax into it, and I'm just hearing and really listening to those key things and offering it back, otherwise we make coaching way too hard.
Yeah, stop that. Just stop it. Stop making it hard.
Stop it.
Stop it. All right. So Marcia, bring us home, but do you want to hear from Mary? Mary, do you want to say anything to kind of seal the deal on what you're taking out of this today? Or did you say everything you wanted to say?
No, I just in the reflections that have been going on, I think that, and whether this is helpful for other people as well as myself kind of naming it, but is that idea of being myself in the past, where it's like, what's my vision, and like I said, it's write a book, it's to do retreats, workshops, teach, blah, 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 blah. And it's so huge and it's so overwhelming. But yet, if I just come back to the simplicity of being myself, then all of that stuff can roll out if it's meant to roll out or whatever. But it's really is about being present. So, whatever that became clear for me. So I appreciate that. And that being present really involves a lot of self-care and self-compassion.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
So we have a few people who need to drop, and I want to thank you, Mary, for your kind words about the experience. And we are grateful for you putting yourself in the space. And Marcia, you've got a couple of people who have to drop, but
Bye-bye.
Great example of moving from performance to connection. I have to drop a few minutes early, but thank you for such a lovely time. And they're thanking you too, Mary. So Marcia, how would you like to wrap this up, and what's your invitation for the book, and how people can connect with you, knowing that we're going to be continuing to connect with Marcia and bring offers to you all as we move into master classes and that kind of stuff going forward. So.
Well, I'm easy to find.
Yes, you are.
Google me and I come up all over the place. But LinkedIn, if you have some other questions, that's always good. And then I'm putting out, next month is International Coaching Week. I've already set up to do like 7 different presentations and probably a demo for each of them. So they'll all be different. So, if you follow me there, I post everything. I'm not good at newsletters anymore. I mean, now and then I'll do it, but that's the best. But I just want to say that the more, the crazier this world gets, the more it needs coaching. It needs us, just to give people that safe space to sort out this craziness that's going on, and it's so interesting because I'm just even setting up to do a webinar in Israel, a webinar in Lebanon, and Lebanon, with these people, and them having bomb sirens go off as we're talking, and it's like, okay, and the economy is being trashed all over Asia. I do a lot of work there, and what's happening with people. They so need that lifeline that coaching gives them, just for that moment to just to talk through this, to sort through the mess, to see what's possible for me in going forward, because I cannot do that for myself. This is the gift we give, however we meet them. Whether it's formal or informal. So I thank you all for choosing coaching to really step into this space, to give this wonderful gift that we have to give to others. So thanks. And that's what I got.
Thank you. I love you, man. So Marcia started with or brought in a little story about Harriet. Harriet was one of the first coaches that we acquired. She was moving from practicing therapy to the West Coast, and she was our elder wise woman. And she always said, and I put it in the chat, the first step is to lose the way. And that was true for her in coaching. She also said something to me once and to several others about our idiosyncrasies. And we apologize sometimes for our idiosyncrasies, but that's what connects us. It's what makes us whole. And so as a community. So I just want you to, this week as you leave here, appreciate your idiosyncrasies, celebrate them. Marcia and I definitely have our own, and we celebrate those with each other. We have, we have been Munchkins and the Wizard of Oz skits and conferences. We have done a lot together beyond teaching. And so we journey together on this planet in a way that is very much heart space and love space. And so thank you for being with us today and offering this. We would love to take excerpts from this, Marcia, maybe for Coaching Week and as one of our offers. So if you're good with that, we'll be doing that. And by way of having you sure. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for allowing us to record it. For those of you we don't know, I hope we will, stay in touch. And I think, Michael C., I think you're a physician. You've been here several times. If you want to reach out just for a discovery call about the other things we're up to, we'd love to get to know you. And for the rest of you, send your friends. We're enrolling, and we're halfway there for next year's or for this year's course, beginning late August is our convening. So please tell your friends about the program and HCI, and we're making faculty out of former students. I mean, we've got lots of good stuff happening. Thank you, Janet, for stepping into the director of training space. It's lovely to have you take these big shoes, and you have filled them beautifully and grown us in other ways with systems, and we appreciate you. So we appreciate you both, and I love all of you. I'll see you later. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for listening to me, and thanks Marcia for
Yeah.